48 Laws of Power. This book has been called a sociopathic book by many people. Sociopath, psychopath, and all that stuff. But, you see, nobody cares about your feelings and how you think about the world because, you know, your idealistic view of the world and the way you think the world should be is not the way the world is. You're living in a fantasy world. You want the world to be the way you want it to be. There's people out there that will try to manipulate you, take advantage of you, use whatever they can in their power to try to use you and abuse you. Now, this book teaches you a lot of things about life. It teaches you a lot of different things. I haven't really read this book. I've listened to the audiobook multiple times, so I'm very familiar with this book. I can give you guys a little summary. Each law is basically each law kind of gives you like a historical example, and then each historical example they kind of give you they give you example, they explain to you what he did wrong and how he could have done better. They give you examples of different things and how it impacts and how it's still relevant to this day. Just a lot of different things. Now, law number 1, never outshine the master, is probably my favorite law, you know, because it kind of tells you that you can use it for any type of example. Because if you're at work and you're working for a boss, you don't want to show up your boss. Like, you don't want to you don't want to show, you don't want to make it plain to your boss that you're smarter than him and you can do everything by yourself and getting big-headed. No, you should play the game well. You should basically, use him. You should use him and say, hey, I need your help with this, stuff like that. You should use his position to kind of further your own position. You shouldn't try to be arrogant and openly arrogant and try to show him up in front of everyone else, in front of the coworkers and all these other people. You kind of have to play on his need for importance and basically kind of like lean on his position. It's a book that's very, very dirty in some ways because it says, oh, crush your enemy totally. It's a very interesting book because it kind of gives you perspective, for sure. Definitely gives you perspective. In all of these cases, it is not a weakness to disguise your strengths if in the end they lead to power. By letting others outshine you, you remain in control instead of being a victim of their insecurity. Yes, you should let your master outshine you so that in the future you can outshine him. You got to play the long game too. It teaches you a lot of things. Avoid outshining the master. All superiority is odious, but the superiority of a subject over his prince is not only stupid, it is fatal. Play on his need to feel important. Just give him the power for now. Eventually you'll surpass him. Just let public opinion, and then it kind of teaches you on ways that you kind of surpass him in the future. For example, if he's weak and old, you don't want to basically show him up in front of everyone else because public opinion is important. So you can kind of just wait and let time hasten his downfall. It teaches you so many different things. There's the reversals for every single chapter. So kind of like every single chapter, the reversal is like, oh, they kind of give you, they say, how can this law basically it kind of teaches you how you should bide your time, or it gives you explanations of how this law can be kind of used against you and how it couldn't work in certain situations and how it can be used against you. Like, for example, say less than necessary. For example, always say less than necessary. That's another law. So if you take that law too literally and actually not say anything, then that's going to arouse more suspicion. So it kind of tells you that you should talk, but because people will be suspicious of you if you don't talk. So you should talk, but you should say things that are meaningless, that they cannot use against you in the future. You get what I'm saying? And then it says, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies, because your friends, typically your friends are not always going to be the people that you need that can help you in certain situations because they may not have the skills. Friends are not really important. What's important is competence and being the ability to put the work in and actually get stuff done. And an enemy will always have more to prove than a friend, so he's more trustworthy. You get what I'm saying? Because he has more to prove. He has to prove his honesty. But the friend, you kind of assume that he's already honest and forthcoming because he's your friend. You trust him, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a lot. It's a lot that goes into it. And then there's obviously interpretations, observance of the law. Like, observance of the law is kind of like what could this law actually do? Like, what does it, like, in the past, how has it changed different situations? How have other people in the past used this law to their advantage? And it gives you the interpretation, keys to power. Then it gives you the reversal. Every single chapter has a reversal. Well, some of the chapters, like guard your reputation with your life, doesn't really have a reversal. That law is like, there's no reversal to it. You just have to follow that fucking law. Some of them, there's no reversals. So, it's a good book. I would say if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to manipulate people and use people as pawns and stuff like that, then you can use this book to kind of try to protect yourself against people that are power hungry. It's yin and yang. You can use it to your advantage. You can actually use it and use people and take advantage of them. But you can also use it to guard yourself against people that are power hungry. So you can use it in both ways. If you say you don't want to be a sociopath or blah, 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 then you can use it in another way. You can say, hey, I want to know what this guy's doing to try to manipulate me. I want to know how this guy's trying to take advantage of me. And then you know exactly what he's doing, and you can use it against him, and you'll see exactly how, I get what he's doing. That he's using that law. Okay, I see. And then you use the reversal against him. Some of them there's no reversals, but if you kind of know what someone's doing, you can kind of. And this book is in chronological order too. It is. Every law kind of builds on the last one. All of it is relevant. Now, this is a book that you kind of have to read multiple times. Like, you can't just read it once, and because there's so many nuances, there's so much information, there's so many things that you have to remember. You're obviously not going to remember every single fucking law, so this book you kind of have to study and read multiple times to try to make it stick in your head. And you have to try to practice the law, for example. When you're around your friends, you can use the law to your advantage. Always say the necessary. For example, if you're with your friends, just watch them, observe them, see how they move, see their habits, what they say, just look at them. Don't say too much. Just guard your words, be very patient, watch them, what they say, watch what they do. And then there's people that you may want to stay away from too. You have to have the ability to read people, and this book kind of gives you that ability. A lot of rules in this book, man. A lot of rules in this book. I would advise you guys to read it, not to listen to the audiobook, because you'll definitely be able to absorb the information better. So the judgment, always say less than necessary. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Yeah, because, for example, you may let something out that you didn't want to say if you talk too much and you're loose with your words. For example, there's another one. There's another way that you could use this to your example. For example, one day if you're out with your friends and they're all getting drunk, you can get a clear glass, put some lime water in there, ginger, and then they'll think that you're getting drunk with them. For example, just sip on it from time to time and let them get drunk. Watch how they act. Ask them questions that they wouldn't say when they were sober. So it's a good book. It's a very good book that you can kind of use to your advantage if you're power hungry. You can use it to your advantage if you're an evil person. You can very much manipulate people with this book. But if you're a good person and you kind of want to protect yourself against evil people, you can also use this book. Yeah. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Rommel. Erwin Rommel, when he was when he was attacking Egypt, he was known as a very, very capable commander. At times, his army was understocked, undersupplied, and had no ability to even move. But the British were very, 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 very patient and calm because very, very, very nervous because his reputation precedes him. Exactly. Like, he's seen as this person that's very capable and powerful. So they're going to be more cautious when they should be more aggressive because he's weak at that moment. But they don't know that because of his reputation. So that's why it's so important. If he didn't have that reputation and he had the reputation of someone that was weak, and then they would have attacked him aggressively and he would have lost. So, you know, it's just a lot of things that kind of... you know, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's an interesting book, and if you take it literally, you are gonna fuck some people over, man. You're definitely gonna take some people out with this book. Court attention at all costs. For example, learn how to use enemies. You know, it's actually better to have enemies because they're gonna be using, like, for example on YouTube. It's better for people to hate you. I mean, if they don't like you, it's better for them to... I mean, if they don't... First of all, it's better to be loved. And then, if they don't love you, make sure they hate you. Because it's better to be hated or loved than it is to be forgotten. To be forgotten is even worse. It's the worst thing. Because if you don't have any attention, then you can't really get any views on YouTube. It's not really just YouTube. If you're at your job, you kind of want to court attention because you want to move up to a different level. You know, you're just basically, you know, one of the people. You're lost in the masses. You're lost in the crowd. You have to find a way to stand out from the crowd. It's a good book, man. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah, it's a really good book. Yeah, it's a really good book, man. But it's definitely and you have to constantly evolve. You know, I haven't read the entire book completely because, you know, I haven't really... I've listened to the audiobooks. I don't really like reading books too much, so that's why I don't really read them. But I'm going to look into reading this book again and again and again a few times. But yeah, that's my review of this book. I've only reviewed the first few laws. If you guys want to read this book, you should probably read this book. It's very, very good. And even if you don't want to be power hungry, you should read it so you can protect yourself against other people that are power hungry. Peace.